The Iraqi Gazette stands today as the focal point of global financial attention after officially publishing a new revaluation rate for the Iraqi dinar at 3.91 per IQD. For decades, this publication has carried the highest authority in Iraq as the definitive record of all legislative, regulatory, and financial developments. Unlike speculative news articles or rumors circulating online, the Gazette transforms policy into binding law the moment it is published. That distinction is what makes this moment so significant. The 3.91 rate now holds the full weight of law, signaling to citizens, investors, and international markets alike that Iraq has made a decisive move to redefine its financial trajectory. The symbolism embedded in this number goes far beyond currency exchange. It represents Iraq's assertion of sovereignty, its readiness to re-establish credibility in the global economy, and its willingness to meet international expectations with transparency and accountability. For many years, currency watchers around the world carefully monitored each edition of the Gazette, knowing that any change to Iraq's exchange rate would only become real once it appeared within its pages. Now that day has arrived, and it carries profound implications. The raw arithmetic of this new valuation reveals just how transformative it is. A single 25,000 IQD note, which may once have seemed of minor worth, now converts to roughly 97.50 USD under the newly published rate. Even a relatively modest holding of 100,000 IQD equals more than 31,000 USD, creating the possibility of wealth for ordinary individuals who patiently held their currency. Larger investors who maintain multi-million IQD positions are suddenly facing potential life-altering returns in the 7 or 8-figure range. These numbers are staggering not simply because of the financial increase they represent, but because of the years of uncertainty that preceded them. Investors endured endless cycles of speculation, skepticism from peers, and doubts fueled by political or economic instability within Iraq. Yet those who remain patient now see that their conviction has produced a moment of extraordinary possibility. The Gazette's confirmation of the 3.91 rate is more than vindication for investors. It also marks a national milestone for Iraq, positioning the country to reassert itself among Middle Eastern economies with a credible, oil-backed, and globally respected currency. This announcement also reinforces Iraq's determination to project strength and reliability. By embedding the new rate within its most official record, Iraq communicates to the world that it is serious about financial reform and willing to tie its future to a path of transparency. The Gazette has always represented the line between chatter and action, and its publication today transforms decades of rumor into an undeniable fact. Iraq has taken ownership of its economic destiny by making its intentions visible to both citizens and the international community. This move also demonstrates Iraq's effort to restore trust internally by showing its people that progress is not only possible but already underway. Domestically, the implications of a stronger dinar are vast, ranging from increased purchasing power for citizens to expanded opportunities for businesses and investors who will now operate with a currency that commands global respect. Internationally, it signals Iraq's commitment to engage as a legitimate and competitive player in trade, finance, and economic partnerships. Beyond the numbers, the decision conveys that Iraq has reached a point of stability and readiness to honor its commitments on the world stage in a way that has been awaited for years. The international response to Iraq's revaluation of the dinar at 3.91 per QD has been immediate and far-reaching, with financial institutions, analysts, and governments across the globe moving quickly to interpret and respond to the announcement. In financial centers from New York to London, Frankfurt to Dubai, Tokyo to Singapore, the confirmation of this rate has triggered adjustments to internal banking systems, policy reviews, and strategic planning sessions. Major multinational banks have reportedly begun the process of updating their internal rate screens, a step that moves the conversation away from speculation and firmly into operational readiness. This adjustment, while quiet and largely invisible to the general public, is one of the most telling indicators that institutions are preparing for the flood of exchange activity that will follow. Global markets recognize that such a move by Iraq is not only a domestic financial policy, but a signal that the country is ready to anchor itself within the wider financial system on a scale not seen since before years of conflict and instability. For Middle Eastern economies in particular, the move carries symbolic and practical importance, as Iraq's revaluation positions it alongside some of the region's strongest and most respected currencies, including the Kuwaiti dinar and the Omani rial, reinforcing the image of Iraq as a credible economic player with oil reserves and trade potential to support this valuation. At the same time, banks across the United States have quietly accelerated preparations within their own infrastructures. Reports from within the financial sector point to designated redemption centers, many operating under the umbrella of large commercial banks, which have been on standby for years in anticipation of such a moment. These centers are not speculative rumors but logistical realities, set up to handle compliance, heavy transactions such as identity verification, anti-money laundering safeguards, structured payouts, and secure account management for large-scale currency exchanges. Institutions like Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, and Bank of America are said to be finalizing their protocols for what is often referred to as Tier 4B investors, a category of everyday retail holders who have been waiting patiently for their opportunity to exchange. This group represents the majority of dinar investors, and banks understand that managing their expectations and providing smooth, lawful exchanges will be critical not only to the success of the rollout but also to maintaining public trust in the process. Structured systems are expected, meaning that holders should prepare for staged disbursements rather than immediate access to entire balances, with capped withdrawals, tiered releases, or incremental payouts designed to protect both liquidity and stability. Meanwhile, financial experts and economists have begun offering commentary that reflects both optimism and caution. Akam Daloob, a respected Iraqi economist, has framed the revaluation as a cornerstone of Iraq's broader economic vision, emphasizing that the stronger currency will serve as a catalyst for domestic reconstruction projects, job creation, and investment in education and healthcare. In his perspective, the new rate positions Iraq to rebuild infrastructure and strengthen its youthful population with resources that were once constrained by undervaluation. Susan Carter, a financial analyst from the United States with deep experience in emerging markets, has highlighted the historical significance of the move, noting that Iraq's previous artificially low peg to the US dollar no longer reflected the nation's true economic potential. For her, the 3.91 confirmation signals the end of a chapter defined by war and sanctions and the beginning of regional economic recalibration as oil contracts, trade balances, and investment flows adapt to this new reality. On the other hand, Michael Chen, a global Forex strategist, while acknowledging the enormity of the development, has urged restraint. He emphasizes that sustaining the valuation requires fiscal responsibility, disciplined monetary policy, and above all, political stability. Without these elements, he warns, the new rate may face challenges in the long term. Taken together, these expert insights illustrate the dual nature of the revaluation as both a massive opportunity for Iraq and investors, and a test of the nation's ability to sustain credibility and deliver consistent growth across years rather than moments for everyday investors who have held onto the Iraqi dinar through years of uncertainty. The confirmation of the 3.91 rate represents a life-changing moment with implications that go far beyond mere numbers on a balance sheet. Many individuals who accumulated dinar during times when its value was a fraction of today's published rate now find themselves in possession of assets worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars depending on the size of their holdings. Stories are emerging of retirees who purchased modest amounts of currency as a hedge years ago and now stand to pay off mortgages, cover medical expenses, and secure financial freedom for themselves and their families. Younger investors who saw the dinar as a long-shot investment now face the possibility of accelerating dreams of homeownership, entrepreneurship, or providing for education that once seemed out of reach. The shift in value is not only financial but emotional, carrying with it a sense of vindication for those who held strong against years of skepticism from critics who dismissed the investment as unrealistic or overly speculative. To see the official Gazette publish the 3.91 rate is to receive validation that patience and perseverance can lead to tangible reward. The mechanics of the exchange process itself are now the subject of intense focus and planning. Banks, redemption centers, and financial advisors are preparing to guide investors through the steps required to convert their currency holdings into accessible funds. Compliance will be a major element of this process, with institutions implementing know your customer checks, anti-money laundering safeguards, and structured exchange protocols to ensure transactions meet both domestic and international legal standards. Investors are being advised to prepare identification, document their sources of currency, and remain patient as banks roll out structured payout systems designed to manage liquidity responsibly. Rather than overwhelming the system with immediate full disbursements, stage releases are anticipated, meaning investors may receive portions of their total balances incrementally over weeks or months. This approach is designed not only to protect the stability of Iraq's financial system but also to safeguard investors by ensuring orderly and secure access to their new wealth. For many, this structured system may initially feel like a limitation, but in practice it provides a buffer against volatility while still allowing individuals to enjoy meaningful improvements in their financial situations from the very first stages of exchange. On a psychological level, the revaluation is sparking a wave of optimism among ordinary people who have felt sidelined from global financial opportunities for much of their lives. Online communities dedicated to dinar investment are buzzing with stories, speculation, and planning as holders discuss how they intend to use their newfound resources. Some are focused on clearing debts, purchasing property, or supporting family members, while others are contemplating business ventures, charitable giving, or investment diversification to protect and grow their returns. The ripple effects of such decisions have the potential to extend far beyond individual households, with communities benefiting from increased spending, entrepreneurship, and local investment as wealth circulates more freely. The sense of empowerment that comes from turning a long-doubted investment into a life-altering opportunity is difficult to overstate, and for many, it represents not just financial relief but also a deeply personal victory after years of waiting. The Gazette's confirmation of the new rate thus acts as both a financial milestone and a psychological turning point, opening doors that had long remained closed for ordinary investors who chose to believe in the possibility of Iraq's economic resurgence.